practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpture, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or badly, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming, to find out what's inside you, to make your soul grow. Seriously, I mean, starting right now, do art and do it for the rest of your lives. Draw a funny or nice picture of Miss Lockwood and give it to her. Dance home after school and sing in the shower and on and on. Make a face in your mashed potatoes. Pretend you're Count Dracula. Here's an assignment for tonight, and I hope Miss Lockwood will flunk you if you don't do it. Write a 6-line poem about anything, but rhymed. No fair tennis without a net. Make it as good as you possibly can, but don't tell anybody what you're doing. Don't show it or recite it to anybody, not even your girlfriend or parents or whatever, or Miss Lockwood, okay? Tear it up into teeny-weeny pieces and discard them into widely separated trash receptacles. You will find that you have already been gloriously rewarded for your poem. You have experienced becoming, learned a lot more about what's inside you, and you have made your soul grow. God bless you all. Kurt Vonnegut.
The artists are the people who first articulate the unknown. And so the role of artists in a healthy culture is to bring to public awareness elements of being that have not yet entered the collective consciousness. So you could imagine that we're all living on an island, and many of us are in the center of the island, far enough away so that maybe we can't even see the shoreline and we can't see the ocean. That's where our borders end, but we're distant from them. The artists are right on the edge, and they're expanding the landscape. They're moving the culture forward. That's where my metaphor fails, I guess. They're moving the culture forward into the unknown, and they do that by translating what is as of yet unimaginable but sensed into what is at least imaginable and represented in image and drama and literature. And that's the precursor to its full formulation in articulated philosophy and thought. And that's what artists do. They're problem solvers. They're problem detectors and problem solvers. And so artists move us forward into the unknown. And you can see them doing that in cities, because it's the open people, the artists, who go into parts of the cities that have degenerated to some degree back into chaos, and then revitalize them, and they civilize them. And then the less artistic people who are more conventional move in, and that's when you get gentrification and that sort of thing, and that usually chases the artists out, and they go somewhere else cheap and interesting and start the renewal process again. So the thing about artists, and it's a hard thing to balance properly in our culture, is that artists are unbelievably productive economically, but it's very, very hard for them to monetize their productivity. So even though what they produce can be of incalculable value, it's very difficult for them to get any of the economic value that they're produced actually directed towards them. It's a major problem it's a major problem with trade openness as a mode of being in the world.
Since it was the 50th anniversary of the creation of West Side Story, its opening on Broadway, I thought it had to be remembered. And more than just putting on another production, many schools and theaters have put on West Side Story productions. But here I was, part of the original creative team, and had personal insights into it. It was certainly a seminal work of the American musical theater, but I want to think of it as a breathing space, a place where all of the arts of the theater came together in this extraordinary work that has become almost an American icon worldwide. It stands for what America is. Arthur Lawrence didn't copy Romeo and Juliet. He took off from it and made this extraordinary original libretto. And Jerome Robbins created dances that told the story. and the performers had to dance, act, and sing. I coached the performers, very few of whom had acted at all. And I want to think it's more than coaching. I brought out their ability to act, taught them in a very short time how to use their own experience in the roles that they played. And as we all know, it was a wonderful and extraordinary experience. I recall that I'm using the word extraordinary a lot in this small squib, but what else can you say about West Side Story except to use that extraordinary word?
What I feel about the theater is very simply, it is the art that is closest to reality. Because whereas all the other arts transform reality into a different medium, sound, music, words on a page, you see, painting, and so on and so forth, they capture life, but by transforming it onto, not mechanical, but to a totally different medium. In the theater, and that includes the movies too from that point of view, because to me those are the theater mediums, the living presence of the actor means that you are creating art with the same means that you create life. The ability to relax becomes the first thing that the actor learns. And in the relaxation, we often see the possibilities of the human being before we see his acting. We see what he's capable of. If he relaxes well, we know that he will be able to concentrate. He will be able to do things that he may not as yet be able to do, but he has that capacity. On the other hand, if he has difficulty in controlling his relaxation, then it means that he will never fully use his talent. Talent is a real thing, is a living thing. And it grows, it fades and it grows. And therefore, no matter how good a performance may be, it leaves me unsatisfied because there's always more. For me, whatever step anybody has achieved is always only the prelude to something more. It's an unending series of steps. There's no point at which you get to the top floor. Nobody knows where the top floor is. I think one of the difficulties in life generally is that our educational process tends to emphasize the mental and the memory. Children, for instance, are very creative in the sense that they have reactions to things which are so unusual that we say, oh my God, we just glow over it. Look at what he said, and look at what he did, and look at what he saw, and so on and so forth. But then what happens? As they grow older, their observations must begin then to coincide with what we think is the right thing. If they look at a chair and they don't see the chair, but they see something else, we say, what's the matter with you? That's a chair. That's not anything to get frightened of. What are you frightened of? What's the matter with you? Crazy? And so on. What happens then is that the natural responses of the human being begin little by little to settle down to a socially acceptable idea of what things are and should be. But when we come to real creativity, which in a way is in the arts and in life, the sky is the limit, and each human being is a complete world of his own.
Good actors are good actors. When we talk about the method, it's just a process, a technique to get what's inside outside when you want it and need it, to hit the right notes. I always say, if you have a Stradivarius and you don't play well, I don't give a damn what the hell you do. It's going to sound awful. And if you have a cheap violin and you're awful good at it, you'll sound better than that fellow who owns an expensive violin. So tuning that instrument is important. When directors, people talk in results, I want you to speed it up. The actor knows if he has the tools, he knows how to do that organically without just speeding it up. I mean, finding the way to do that so that it doesn't interrupt the life of the character. Just talking fast, I want you to get very angry here, or just something. Very angry, okay. Why? He gets angry later on. I don't think we should played the third act and the first act. We got a long way to go. Why don't I get angry and not let it out here? I think we're spilling too much. We know the possibility of his violence too early. That's what a good method actor will say to a director who says, I want that now. You'll appeal on a logical level saying, well, you know, shouldn't it be more contained here so that when it finally happens, we're shocked? That's how you communicate with a director, no matter how he's trained or how he... I mean, you have a point of view and you should express that. And if you're clear enough about it and know how to talk about it, he'll probably buy your suggestion. Method is really a conscious approach to free the unconscious and the imagination. That's what we're talking about, acting. Method. It's a way of utilizing the things we see, touch, taste, and smell. That's all we use on the stage. That's what it's about. Nothing's real on the stage. You have to make it real. There's no one on the other end of the telephone, ever. Is it hot? Is it cold? Tennessee Williams writes a play in which it's 130 degrees. The reason that's there is you want the sensuality / sexuality. You want the sweat. You want the humidity. You can't just say it's hot. I mean, the actor, his instrument needs to be able to do that. I always say, only bad actors show you emotion. How a character hides his feelings tells us who he is. No one tries to cry in life. You try not to. Only bad actors try to cry. Only bad actors try to laugh. Only actors try to be drunk. A drunk wants another drink. He doesn't want anyone. A drunk picks up a glass very carefully. Anyway, what I'm basically saying is, there's 360 degrees of life and your experience to choose from, and how to utilize that so that stuff happens. And all an audience ever wants to believe is what's going on is happening for the first time ever. They don't want to see the rehearsals. In fact, you shouldn't see the rehearsals. It's first time experience, never happened before. Well, they think it's all about playing yourself. It's not playing yourself, it's utilizing the emotions and the palette that everyone has. I mean, the brilliance of the theater and film is that something's going on up there and 1,000 strangers are all experiencing the same thing if it's real. Now try and get 10 people in your living room to agree on anything. You get 1,000 people all going through the same exact thing where men are fighting tears because something real is going on up there. That's what we strive for, to reach people, to communicate feelings and say, oh, I've been there, I know that. Because all of our feelings are the same, no matter whether we're highly educated, whether we're not well educated, whether we read. The feelings we experience are universal.
How did you switch from being a Marine to being an actor?
Well, I mean, one, the stakes you're pretending are life and death, and the other, they kind of are, but the process in which you work on them is the exact same. It's, you know, a group of people trying to accomplish a mission that's bigger than any one person, and you have a role, and you have to know your role within a gun team, and you're only as good as the people that are there with you. There's someone leading it, and when they know what they're doing, what you're doing feels active and relevant and exciting, and when they don't, it feels like a waste of resources and dangerous, and you're just so aware that you're one part of a bigger picture. I was interested in it before being in the military. Then when you get in the military, you get out, you kind of have all this false confidence that civilian problems will be small in comparison, which is an illusion. But then I was lucky enough to get into an acting school and learned about acting and plays and a process. The boundaries are very clear. The text is the text, and I find that incredibly freeing, because your intention could be anything. If it's well written, you know, the language is so rich that every time you say it, it opens up an idea for something else. You've gotten in a fight with your wife before the scene starts, or maybe nothing. Maybe you're having a good moment before this scene starts, it just opens up your imagination of a different way of reading it. It's not your job to feel anything. It's the audience's job. So I obviously have been thinking about something for a long time, and you finally get there and do it. You want to feel something just because you feel like you put the effort in, but it's not really my responsibility to feel something. It's to telegraph that something is being felt, but it's hard to reconcile that, to not feel like you got there and you actually, it feels like it's going to be more authentic, but I mean, to your point, you could be having all the feeling you want, but no one is feeling anything. And your job is to tell the story, not have a feeling in front of people. I have a lot of regret often when you leave a set. You can't help but, think about it. And, obviously it's film, so film is forever, so you never get a chance to go back and do it again. That's the thing about acting, is that you, regardless of how often you do it or how long you do it, you never figure it out. I've learned from theater in that, you always at the end of a 4-month run of a play, you're always the last performance. It's always the best one. And you're like, okay, now I have a better sense of what I want to do and go back. So I know that there's no right answer. There's no right way to play a scene. That's my part of it. I like the making of it, and it's someone else's responsibility to make the choice of what is the best version of it. And you would just have to feel comfortable with failing, and you either get easier on yourself, I think, about like, okay, then I'll let it go, or you don't. But I don't think you'll ever figure that out, Wes. So I think people keep doing it, I think. But I don't know. Being more economical, I think I wish I could be. Things that I think I need, I don't. Whether it be acting or life, you think that you need to certain things have to be in place for you to do your job, but then actually none of that's true. Where you were using the example earlier of a porthole, having it worked up in your mind, and then realize you're getting there, you have no control over any of it. So. Or doing homework and research and losing weight and putting a bunch of weight, and then feeling comfortable to let it all go because none of that is helpful because your scene partner is drunk. I'm just pulling that. That's not something that's happened to me. Just pulling something out of it. But being more economical with okay, well, all that time I have to either get better about that I've wasted it, or I shouldn't just waste that time and actually should prioritize in a different way.
You try to be in the circumstance of your character, try to be in the circumstance of the movie. Any sort of tension or anything you're alluding to would help the character and help the arc and the story. But then you try to distract yourself from the seriousness of that or something, or the self-seriousness or the pressure or outside opinions, whatever. And you're able to do that really most successfully when your colleagues basically are fighting that same fight. I take this pressure over the other pressures I felt in life before I had a career. It's a marathon and not a sprint. Mentally, when you're surrounded by great castmates and a great director and people that are confident and assured, then it's easier to get through too. And now that we're doing press, it's a lot of fun too. I think when you're growing up, you always feel out of your body. You're looking in the mirror to confirm your identity or to shred your identity or to hate yourself. And, I think that's probably the most challenging period in life when you're truly a fish out of water. But the brilliance in that too is then you can kind of search for your identity, search for what makes you feel grounded, find the good people in your life, those non-toxic ass people, and I think that's what I would say.
I would say honestly, every project that you kind of take on, there's a bit of fear there because there's no guarantee that anything will work out the way you see it in your head or that you hope it will. And so everything kind of sometimes feels like a little bit of a leap of faith, and all you can really control is your work. All you can do is do your best job and work your very hardest and hope that something good comes of it, So I would say it kind of happens every time you kind of tackle a new project. You're just like, okay, here we go, and so yeah, I don't know. I think I feel that fear every time, which I think is a good thing. It's good to feel that fear. I hope that I feel that every time, even when I get older and do other things, I think that's good. It's motivating. I think I found my power when I'm working, which I've learned over this, pandemic is maybe a good and a bad thing. You have to find life and power in other ways and not just your work, Zendaya. Yes. Which I'm learning about. But I feel empowered when I work because I really love my job and I feel incredibly grateful to be doing what I love for a living. So every day that I wake up and I get to do this, this is just a massive sense of gratitude for the fact that this is my job. But again, with that it feels empowering because I feel like I'm in my element. Like I don't know you know, when you're just on set and you just feel like,
Yes.
yeah, this is my place, like this is my home.
How do you feel about the experience?
Again, lucky to do something that's a little bit different, you know? I don't ever want to be nailed down. And I want to tell stories. I want to tell a wide range of stories and be able to look back someday and go, wow, some of them were really original, really different, you know? And I still haven't done what I want to do, you know?
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
What?
Explode into a ball of light.
Did you write yourself a check?
Yeah. I made my check, which was just basically, you know, $10 million to Jim Carrey for acting services rendered, dated Thanksgiving 1995. And that was 90. I gave myself 5 years to be one of the most successful working actors, to be given the best material and the best scripts and things that people would never expect in a million years that I could do. An insane belief in my own ability to manifest things. Insane belief. You know, that I think it's ultimately complete sanity. But I believe we're creators, and I believe we create with every thought and every word. Every moment is pregnant with the next moment of your life. This is a fantastic journey you're on. It really is. I mean, I've been challenged by it, and it's been really difficult at times, but ultimately, it's the last place we'll be able to tell the truth. And that's what your job is, ultimately. Whether you do it in an abstract way or a real way, your job is to tell the truth about humanity. Playwrights, you're the people who will allow us to speak the truth. And we get to express it. And it's a fantastic thing. So I wish you all the best with it, really. Thank you.